And I'm back. You know, it's kind of hard to talk about anything that isn't Seedance 2.0 right now. The upcoming video model from ByteDance is responsible for, breaking some jaws by making them drop so hard. So today I'm back with some more information, a hands-on test, a boatload of new examples, plus information on, well, rough cost at least, possible nerfing, release date, and, well, on a lot of people's minds, does it really beat Kling 3.0? Actually, you might be surprised. On that note, let's dance. Kicking off, so apparently my last video on Seedance got picked up over on Bilibili. Basically, it's like the Chinese YouTube, and got like about 88,000 views. So just a quick ni hao to all of our viewers over there. I do appreciate that they were nice enough to call me professional, although apparently that bottom line says something about me being salty. I'm not exactly sure. Official channel translators, if you can let me know in the comments. Anyhow, we've seen a lot of stuff happen over the last 48 hours with Seedance 2.0, including a brief free access leak where, understandably, users went pretty ham. I got a few generations off, and we'll take a look at those in a minute, but overall, what these outputs ended up providing us with was a real look at the model in action. Obviously some cherry-picked, but a lot of raw outputs as well. Kicking off with this pretty wild example. So yeah, a pretty epic kind of like Cyberpunk Parasite Eve thing. One interesting note here, there is one shot here, and I don't think I'm seeing things, that does look suspiciously like friend of the channel, Lola Viscera's profile picture. Yeah, we'll talk about that more in a little bit. But overall, clearly Seedance 2.0 is pretty adept at fight scenes. Although I do want to point out that with this generation, as it continues, we do sort of see it drift between a photorealistic and kind of a CGI Unreal Engine style. Not knocking it or anything, just pointing it out. Now, the floodgates to Seedance 2.0 opened up the other day via BytePlus, which is ByteDance's AI playground, kind of like their version of Google's AI Studio. Now, I'll say this does not seem like it was intentional on ByteDance's part, but yeah, for a short while, you could log in and generate in Seedance 2.0 for free. I will say that queues were extremely long, and to note, that has been shut down now. Now, there were some limitations during this free-for-all, namely in that you could only generate text to video, and if you wanted to image reference, you could only do so with first frame, last frame, interestingly. On the text to video side, this is perhaps the greatest new prompt benchmark ever from Gossip Goblin. Just toss a bunch of bull stuff on the screen. Show me like a big ship too. Everything farking blows up. Make sure it's insane and gets at least 50 likes. That is legitimately a movie I would watch 100 times. Throw in a few like flying great white sharks and take my money. And to note, the model doesn't have to go totally bonkers all the time. We've obviously seen a lot of those outputs, but in fact, it does really great with just, standard bread and butter scenes as well.
You can't be serious.
I'm deadly serious. They're real.
This is absurd. You have no proof.
I have my own eyes. I saw it.
Multi-shot also seems to work very well with, again, more traditional narrative outputs.
Well, that's not what I ordered. Get in the car, now.
You didn't tell me there'd be this much.
There wasn't supposed to be.
Drive faster, honey.
That is really good and very much staying in line with that like late 70s, early 80s film look. Now, I do want to note, you may have caught a kind of gibberish text at the end there. I don't actually know what the original prompt was, so I don't know what it's trying to spell, but all this text in the wide shot. I mean, it also follows suit. It's all kind of gibberish. I do want to note, I mean, the location itself looks really good, but the text is gibberish. Again, I'm not bagging on it. I'm just pointing it out because, you know, as everyone freaks out that AI video generation is getting so good, you'll never know what's real anymore. Well, I mean, you can if you can read. Well, I mean, at least for now. A few quick follow-ups here. And again, it does probably seem like I'm really splitting hairs here, but again, I am getting to a point. And yes, we will get to Flamethrower Girl in a minute. Gumview Studio gives us this shot from, well, I mean, it looks like it's some crime show that I'm probably watching on Netflix. Again, I think this is a really great generation. In fact, I think the pace of the scene is very well done, and all of the shots maintain correct screen direction. But you may have noticed that our hero, actually, I don't think he's the hero, I think he's the bad guy. Well, he does sort of just teleport in the beginning. And I can check with Gumview on this, but I'm pretty sure that teleportation does not appear anywhere in his prompt. Again, I am getting somewhere with this. Now, something more on the action side, Subarctic Rec gives us this sequence that, I mean, I don't know, I'm going to call this Assassin's Creed Odyssey, the movie. So again, I am not at all diminishing the capabilities of Seedance 2.0. In fact, actually, these are some of the best fight and action sequences we have ever seen in AI video. In particular, again, as I've mentioned in the previous video, the physicality. I mean, even the swords as they, hit each other, like they don't, morph out or go rubbery all of a sudden. But I do want to point out, there are moments like towards the end of the clip when sort of all of our background characters go fairly inert. Or in this shot where we have our female protagonist kind of come up and do this roundhouse kick, and then through like some weird like cellular mitosis, a bad guy just kind of appears out of her. I do want to give the model credit here in the fact that, like, despite the fact that she is occluded essentially by her evil bad guy twin, that when he drops out of frame, she's still there. That's something that has, tripped many a model up in the past. So the point that I'm making is that the model is good. It's really good, but it's also prone to kind of doing some odd jump cuts here and there. And then occasionally, you're just going to run into some AI wonk. So look, you're going to need to get in there and edit. I mean, lately there has been so much "it's over, we're cooked" rhetoric going on. I mean, personally, I don't believe that. If anything, I mean, again, I go back to something that I've said quite often. The skill that you should really focus on leveling up right now is video editing. And actually, I'm going to toss in learning some basic compositing skills as well. I think the combination of the two will take you pretty far. Moving on to my hands-on tests. I'm not considering this a full review in the least. I really only got off a couple of generations on the BytePlus platform before, access was yanked. So consider this kind of an early dabble. As I mentioned earlier, only first frame and last frame was available on the BytePlus platform when I tried it out. So, I took our girl, Flamethrower Girl. And what was interesting here is that this is kind of a trash prompt in all honesty. Like, there's no continuity really between these two images, minus the fact that we have Flamethrower Girl. And my actual prompt, again, was super trash. It was just, she walks into a pirate tavern, puts down her flamethrower, and raises an ale mug. Firing that off, I mean, I'm just impressed that it gave us some kind of cohesive output based off of what I gave it. I mean, to be honest, I'm like really super impressed with the logic behind all of this. Now, I'll admit that there is a bit of a weird match cut that happens as she takes off the flamethrower and then, actually is teleported inside of the tavern to put it down. But again, I mean, this was a pretty trash prompt. The one thing I'm really impressed with is that we get this orbit shot of her. Well, two things here. One, this is not a character model or a character reference. This is just all that it has to work with is this initial input image. So, it does generate the back of her very well. And the other thing that keeps kind of blowing me away is just basically her skin texture as she walks in from light to dark. I mean, that's really good. A few output notes. It obviously does generate at 21.9, which brings me so much joy. And raster size is 1470 by 630, so basically 720. I did spam roll this prompt a couple of times, so here's another version of that same output. I do absolutely love the chair spin as well. Here's my flamethrower. Oh, and my other flamethrower. And finally, one other output that gets, well, it's a little on the After Dark side. Nothing super salacious, but it does kind of show that, well, you know, Seedance might get a little thirsty from time to time. Yeah, I definitely was not expecting that. Again, I think that just goes to show that this was not provided with a character reference, so all the model had to work with was that like beginning frame and the end frame. So, and obviously, you know, we didn't have any details on pants. And I gotta say, I didn't even know she had a tattoo there. The other generation that I got off was based off of this image, which interestingly, we did run in Kling 3.0, utilizing their character reference binding feature. The generation I thought looked really good in Kling. The problem was that it didn't really follow the directions of the prompt. So taking, again, the original source image and the original prompt and running it in Seedance 2.0.
Find her! Find her!
And I gotta say, very impressive. And more so that we get Flamethrower Girl consistency way out in the fourth shot of the output as well. Now, I do have to note that in the last shot, basically, there is an issue that, you know, we have Flamethrower Girl up on the top right of the screen and the flames are entering from the top left of the screen. So, you know, look, there's still always gonna be, as I was saying earlier, there's still always gonna be needs to re-roll and edit. Moving on, there have been some rumors circulating that ByteDance is gonna clamp the hammer down on realistic generation of people, kind of like a la Sora 2. Although there does appear to be some fine print here. I did read a report that that rule might only apply to modern realistic figures, public personalities, or, you know, and probably obviously the IP stuff. That said, currently the model is for sure pretty wide open, with users generating all kinds of like Tom Cruises, Darth Vader's and Thanos, and one of my favorites, Batman versus Catwoman. I actually got to give props to the model here for going with Anne Hathaway Catwoman and George Clooney Batman. Although, I mean, couldn't it have removed the nipples from the bat suit? So, you know, overall, not ideal. But at the same time, it's not like we haven't been here before. This actually reminds me a lot of the Sora 2 free-for-all weekend when it first launched. This is a thing that we see, you know, at the start of new models where they're like completely unhinged. And then as we get closer to release or wider usage, things start to clamp down. Personally, I mean, my take still remains, you don't need to generate Star Wars. We have Star Wars at home. Well, actually, Sora now has Star Wars on Disney+. But my point being, generating IP clips is the least interesting thing you can do with this technology. Don't play with other people's toys, go make your own. Speaking of which, we're gonna get to release and cost in just a minute, but you know, to that earlier point, you don't necessarily have to wait for Seedance 2.0 to get started. I mean, Kling 3.0 is pretty awesome. In fact, friend of the channel, Alex Patchescu, puts together a pretty interesting comparison between the two models.
Italians. I hate this place. Italians. I hate this place. place.
I mean, that lady needs to chill out and eat some pasta. If I were in Italy, that's what I'd be doing. So I think this is a really interesting head-to-head in that Kling, I think, really nailed the assignment of that kind of vintage look. Wardrobe looks period appropriate. Beehive hairdo, definitely. And, you know, overall set dressing. Meanwhile, Seedance gives us a much more modern looking character. I will say that I think it does a better job in creating a sense of space with the location itself. The crosscut is pretty nice, but then it does have an issue with basically a ghost closing the door behind her. Now, in terms of cost and release, I know a lot of us are anxious to put this model through the test. You know, again, from what I've heard, and I have not heard anything to counter this, February 24th is the API release date. In terms of cost, and I would not say that this is set in stone, but via Tom Likes Robots, who is a reputable source, he puts it at 72 cents to generate essentially 15 seconds. So, you know, roughly 4.8 cents per second, which to put in perspective is actually not that bad considering that Google's VO3, when it first launched, was 8 cents a second. So while not the cheapest model, I do consider it pretty reasonable for a state-of-the-art model such as this. We actually don't know what the final price will be. We'll see what it's like when it does release on the Dramina platform, probably around February 24th. So that's the latest and greatest on Seedance 2.0. I'm gonna go circle around and see what else is happening in the AI world. As always, I thank you for watching. My name is Tim.